go live now so people can come in.
I'm gonna go start dinner.
Hmm?
You want me to start dinner?
If you want to, yeah.
Okay.
Hello, everybody coming in. If you are here, hello. Hi, Ash. Thank you for being here. It's an AA meeting. You're welcome to listen, chat in the chat, do whatever in the chat. Just be kind to each other and don't pass judgment. I'm not sponsored by Doritos. Show off my new cup my sister got me for my birthday, or should I say for our birthday. I love it. Yeah. She had it made for me from the Dyson's Crazy Adventures. And there's my twin, Lily T. Hello. Hello, Doug and Ava. Hi, Boondocking with Boomer. Lance, good to see you here. So, yeah, it's been a while since I have gone live a little early to be able to talk and get others in. Usually I'm waiting on StreamYard. My laptop doesn't want to work today, so I just had to just throw it all together and say, here we go. Thank you, sis. I got that one down there. Appreciate it. So if you're new here, welcome. This is the Hawkins Family Adventures / AA meetings. I just do them all in one on one channel here on YouTube because it's a little easier for me to just have the one channel. So until I get to where I can have a better setup to be able to do both on a good laptop or something, then this is what I'm dealt right now. So hello, Ava Potterfield. Thank you for coming. I'm doing good. Took my son grocery shopping this morning. We are talking plans for camping because spring is just right around the corner. Can't be here soon enough. The sun is out. It's nice today, so I was able to go out for a little bit. But yeah, so but anyways, so let's go ahead and get the Serenity Prayer going. And if you have a book, follow along. If you don't, that's fine. And I always put in the description, I didn't of this one because I just had to throw it together. So, but I always say in the video what page we're on. So, check the date and see if it's the newest one. And if it's the newest one, then you should go ahead and go on that page of what I read, and I hope it helps who it needs to help. You can use it for everything. I quit smoking almost a year ago, and I have AA to thank for helping me do that as well. Because going the meds by themselves, it could have been great and easy, but I use that in my everyday also using the AA steps to keep me going on my not smoking and my sobriety. So all of that is all thrown into one. I have other friends that use AA for, you know, not drinking soda or what have you. But it is good to use for other um, addictions that you might have. So, but let's go ahead and get into it. My name's Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. Um, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like I said, please don't pass any judgment in the chats. Be kind to each other. And I see you over there, my daughter. I'm sorry I unfriended you. It was just a big old crazy thing. I'll talk about that later. Um, Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the steps. So, step one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step two, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step three, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood it, only praying for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Okay, we are in the big book, and we are on A Drunk Like You, page 398. The more he listened at meetings, the more he came to know about his own drinking history. Usually, our stories start out by telling what we were like, what happened, and what we are like now. For me, what it was like was nothing in particular, no problems, nothing special happened, nothing that I realized, anyhow. Only much later, when I started listening to other people and what happened to them and when and how, did I realize that those things were in my past also. My story starts in the middle. What happened? My family and I were attending a relative's bris, a Jewish ritual curriculum or circumcision and baby naming ceremony. After the ceremonies and brunch, I fell asleep. When it was time to leave, they woke me up. The car ride home was very quiet. The wife and my 2 kids said nothing. Later that day, I found out what the problem was. When they came to wake me, I was very belligerent and threatening. I scared them. They were afraid I would hit them. That was it. I could see that something had to be done. My wife's sister-in-law, who is a social worker, suggested we see a counselor. I thought that might be a good idea. I was having anxiety attacks for no reason. I used to be able to demonstrate products to high-level executives of the corporation I worked for with no problem. Now even minor product showcases were becoming difficult. Also, I was having trouble getting technicians to work for me. In the past, I had my pick because I was good at work for the types or for the projects were fun with interesting new ideas. I always had a quick temper, but now things were getting out of hand. I would do things like up my desk with my desk chair. And the most serious thing to me was that I was contemplating suicide. I had no actual plan, a plan for an accident that would raise no question in the mind of the insurance company. So, in a moment of sanity, I decided it would be a good idea to seek help. If I hadn't lost my marbles, they were at the least very loose. So my wife and I found a psychiatric social worker at the local Jewish Family Service Agency. She saw us as a couple, then individually, then together, and so it went. When we were together, we worked on our interpersonal problems. When I saw her by myself, she would talk about drinking. I don't know why she kept bringing it up. I drank, but not that much. I never even mentioned my drinking, except maybe to say, yes, I do drink. When she asked, Copper, will you go lay down? When she asked, it wasn't the problem, the other things were. One day she read me some questions from a pamphlet, which I answered honestly. She concluded that maybe I drank too much, and we talked about that for several sessions. One day she asked if I could limit myself to 5 drinks a day. I said sure. Was I surprised when I found that I couldn't? That should have been my first clue that she might be right. But it didn't occur to me. Then I hit on a clever solution. I have several academic degrees, and someone as smart as I could solve this problem. The idea was to put off the first drink as long as possible and go to bed after the last drink. That worked out okay. And I told the counselor I was able to keep it to 5 a day with little or no problem. But she said if you had to control something, it was out of control. During one session, she suggested that I try not drinking at all one weekend. Okay, I said. She also suggested that I send the kids off somewhere for the weekend because I might be irritable. I used to watch a lot of late night movies. It was my time to relax by having a few drinks, a habit that started in night school when I had a full time job and was studying chemistry at night. I had seen movie versions of what happened to people who had drinking problems. The Lost Weekend, Days of Wine and Roses, and others. And so I was nervous about raging, losing control, and maybe being violent as my wife had said I was. So we packed up the kids and the booze, all of it, and took all to my wife's parents. Much to my surprise, the weekend we went well, no problems. And in the next session, I told my counselor so. She said, "What about the meeting?" I said, "What meeting?" She said, "The AA meeting." I said, "What AA meeting? We never talked about that." She said, "I had agreed to go to an AA meeting." So out came a meeting list. She explained about open and closed meetings. I decided on one I thought would be okay for me, a men's discussion group. They would be my kind of people, and the time fit into my schedule. The meeting list started on Sunday. I never started a project or anything else on a Sunday. Monday was my MASH night. Tuesday was Tuesday night at the movies. And I am a big old movie fan. So Wednesday is when I decided to try this AA meeting. The meeting went okay. We talked about somebody's problem with an anonymity break at his doctor's office. The people at the meeting were telling him stuff that made no sense to me, like live and let live, easy does it, one day at a time, use the serenity prayer, talk to your sponsor, and as we went around the table, it came my turn. Since they were all saying they were alcoholics, it wasn't too hard for me to say my name and, "Hi, I'm an alcoholic," and suggested that the man should just go to another doctor. He thanked me very much, and after the meeting, he said to be sure and come back next week. During the meeting, somebody mentioned spending too much time at discussion tables when we should have been spending more time at first step tables for newcomers. So I went to the first step table the following week. The discussion was very interesting. I didn't think I was powerless over alcohol, but I knew my life was unmanageable. One night we were talking about when we started drinking, and I was saying that I drank all my life. Actually, I was given my first drink at my bris. That is usually done when a boy is 8 days old. So I said all Jewish boys start drinking early. I had to admit that after that it was just the usual milk and juice until I could sit up at the table with the family, and then there would be kiddush wine every Friday night. Not great stuff. What we got was sweet wine and seltzer. So I didn't drink very much of it. I didn't like it. Later, I learned the definition of a social drinker: someone who could take it or leave it. When I was about 10 years old, we all came back from my cousin's bar mitzvah services to celebrate at my grandmother's house. There I had my first real drink. All the adults went over to the table for a snacks. There were all these little teeny glasses in front of various liquor bottles, and everybody was having one. So I had one too. It was good. It was smooth and warm and wonderful. I liked it and went back for another. This one wasn't smooth. It was hot going down, not as wonderful. After that, I drank what I could, when I could, where I could. Not much, not often, not as a 10-year-old. At that first step table, we figured out, or they did anyhow, that that was alcoholic drinking. Having one and going back for a second right away. I know now I never had just one drink, ever. One night they were talking about how much they drank, and one guy said he had so many beers. The next guy talked about shots, one about mixed drinks I never heard of, another about so many pints, and on it went around the table. When my turn came, I said I didn't know. Wow, that much? They said. No, I said. I meant I didn't know the amount. I drank mostly at home and poured some in a tall glass and drank that and did it several times. Well, how many times did you refill? I don't know. Somebody asked it another way. He wanted to know how many did I buy. Well, I said, I stopped in the package store every day and bought one. Oh, he said, how many did you have left at the end of the week? Well, he had me there. None, I said. He said, a bottle a day, man? I never got to say another word. It was settled over my objections. I saw the counselor once a week, and I went to this men's meeting once a week, and everything was getting better. Once I saw somebody get a 90-day pin, I decided not to get one, even though I couldn't see it from where I was sitting. I wasn't going to wear an AA sign. One day, somebody got a 90-day pocket piece that he could rub for luck, and I decided to get one of those. After my 3 months were up, I went to the literature guy and bought one. He said it would be nice if it was presented to me in front of everybody. I wasn't too keen on getting up in front of everyone. He said it would be good for the newcomers. It would show them that the program worked. So I told him, okay, and asked the leader of the first step table to give it to me. They were paying him to run the meeting, or so I thought at the time. Later I found out that they were reimbursing him for the snacks. So the following week, I got my pocket piece and thanked everybody for giving me the power over alcohol. Now I was more powerful than alcohol because for the first time in a long time, I could choose not to use it. A couple of weeks later, the large company I was with, which had relocated me and my family at their expense, had a large staff cutback and I was fired. I thought I was fireproof. I was in a very important position doing important work. I was the chief researcher in developing a new product. I was sitting in on strategic planning meetings. I was very upset. After all, I was better now and back to being a good employee and team player again, but to no avail. We were able to stay on site in special offices set aside for us to conduct our job search. As part of this job search, I was allowed to go to a professional convention being held in the Southwest. Now, somehow, between the time I lost my job and my flight to the convention, I decided maybe I was not an alcoholic and I needed to test that theory. After all, I was a researcher and things had to be tested. I decided that on the plane, it seemed like a safe place, I would put the question to the test. If I could have one drink and no more, I was not an alcoholic. Alcoholics can't do that. So, when the stewardess came by to ask me if I wanted a drink, I said yes. She put two little bottles worth in a glass. No ice. Thank you very much. And went up the aisle. On her way back, she asked if I wanted another, and I said yes. I drank for the whole flight, before dinner, during dinner, and after dinner. As we approached our destination, I searched in my pocket for a pen to fill out the in-flight magazine response card. I found that large coin. I took it out to see what it was. It was my 90-day pocket piece. And I was reminded of what I was doing. And the thought came to me, wow, those guys at the meetings were right. I am powerless over alcohol. I put that coin back in my pocket, and from that day to this, some 15 and a half years later, I have had no urge to drink. When I got back to my meeting, I told them what had happened. I don't know why. It was not like the old me to fess up to anything. They were concerned only whether I was still drinking, and I said, no, I am not. I was worried that they were going to take my coin back. All they wanted to know was what I was going to do now. I had no idea. They did, however. They said I needed a sponsor, so I found a sponsor. They said I needed more meetings. How many? I wanted to know. They said I only had to go to meetings on days I would have had a drink. They said I needed to identify, not compare. I didn't know what they meant. What was the difference? Identifying, they said, was trying to see how I was like the people I was with. Comparing, they told me, was looking for differences, usually seeing how I was better than others. One day, we were talking about spiritual awakenings. Everyone talked a little about what happened to them and when and how and all that. Then it came to my turn. I said I hadn't had one yet, but I was open to it. Well, two people were trying to talk at the same time. What have you been telling us about the airplane like all this time? Well, I said I was drinking, and the coin reminded me of what I did. And I decided I was powerless and couldn't drink anymore and stopped. One man said, "Well, that's it. What more do you want?" I said, "What about the blinding white flash?" "What about it?" he said. "Read the big book. The appendix explains the concept of a sudden change and a gradual change, and that not everybody has a blinding flash." "Oh," I said, "that was it. That was mine." "Yes," I was told. "What more do you want?" Actually, I wanted something more dramatic, and my sponsor said what he said often, or he so often did. So, and I found myself saying, "Well, is if that's it, it will have to do." "Have to do?" he replied. "It was bigger and better than most, and more importantly, it worked. You stopped and didn't start again." Well, that worked for me. I have stayed in Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous long enough to find the program in the big book and to practice all its principles in all my affairs on a daily basis. The last big hurdle was closing the meeting with the Lord's Prayer. As a Jew, I was uncomfortable with it and decided to talk to my sponsor about it. So I said, "The Lord's Prayer bothers me. I don't like closing with it." "Oh," he said, "what's the problem?" "Well, I'm Jewish and it's not a Jewish prayer." "Well, then," he said, "say it in Jewish." I said, "It would still be the Lord's Prayer, right?" He said, "Then say something else that you like. Your higher power, whatever you call it, is helping you, and you need to say thank you." That was a big step for me. I finally began to separate the religious aspect of my life from AA spiritual program. Now the big difference to me is that religion is the ritual, and we all differ there. And spirituality is the way we feel about what we do. It's about my personal contact with my personal higher power as I understood him. Everything has turned around. I found a new job which I then decided to leave. I opened my own business which I then decided to leave, or I was able to put my own two sons through college at large universities. My oldest son's great passion was to go on road trips to get away from home. When it was time to come home on school break, now he comes home regularly and brings friends. The younger son comes home often and calls regularly. My marriage is no longer on the brink and is better than ever. And the best is yet to come. All this and more I owe to the fellowship in the rooms and the programs in the book. And that's why I say it works. Because I too was a skeptic. I too drank when I was a minor. They gave me Jack Daniels for toothaches when I was a baby. No, I'm not saying it's my parents' fault. But also, when I realized that as a teen, that alcohol had always been part of my life, and I knew I had alcoholic family members, I had a feeling that I was going to end up like the person I hated the most. I don't hate him now. He's gone. He's gone. And I have made my amends on my side of that. And I had no choice but to do so. And it wasn't even my amends to make. That was on him, and he died a drunk. He was still drinking when he passed away. Never admitting anything. But, and that is something that I will never forget. Never forget. But I can move past it because this book by itself has helped. Knowing how far I have come in 10 years from what I was before I even actually stopped drinking, because I have ventured out before I ever started AA, and I can vouch that when you go out and you go so long being sober, I was sober for a good year at least before I went back to drinking, and that was without AA. And it I went right back down to where I had come from, because I was like this person and saying, oh, well, whatever, I can have a drink. I'm not going to end up back down to the bottom of the bottle and blah, blah, blah. Bull crap. Bull crap. Yes, I did. But again, I didn't know AA before that. I knew of AA, but I didn't know AA the way I do now, and how I work it in my daily life. This is, I would not, I thank my sponsor and everybody in the meetings and the newcomers who come in and remind us of why this works, how it works. It reminds us to remember we need to help the younger ones that are, trying to come to terms with they're an alcoholic. And I'm not meaning younger age. I'm meaning the newcomers of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because when you come in, we welcome you with open arms, and we just go about the business of the meeting, of sharing our stories, reading the books, Yeah, I would go to 2 meetings a week. You darn right I did. I may not have stayed for the whole thing, but I got to where, yeah, I stayed more than I left. I talked to people. They're the reason why I'm here right now, talking to you. Hey, cuz, talking to all of you over here on Facebook and YouTube, because without being able to know that I can go without the alcohol and I can be happy, I can live a life without it, and I don't have to have it. I don't I don't even think about alcohol anymore other than my AA. My AA comes first. And that's the way it needs to be. And that's what I tell everybody when they ask me about how and what and all of that. That's what I tell people is, if it wasn't for AA, I wouldn't be sitting here. And I mean it. I honestly mean it, because I was also, like this person said in the beginning, of the wanting to off myself, that's where I was. That's literally where I was before I got AA. And I've never admitted that to very many people because I was ashamed of it. But that's where I was. And I don't think about it anymore. So I think about people that are still suffering, that don't know that there are people that care. They can be a total stranger. I found my voice. I use my voice every day. If I don't like something, I express that I don't like something. If I'm happy, I express I'm happy. If I'm sad, I'm sad. It's the real, authentic me. I'm not hiding behind the drink anymore. It's me. And I'm not going to change this part of me for anybody, because it's the real me. And it's who I want to be. It's where I want to be. And I'm not better than anybody else. I just want everybody else to know that there is hope. There is that hope for people. Let me see. Yeah. So right here it says, one night we were talking about when we started drinking. And I was saying that I drank all my life. Actually, I was given my first drink at my Bryce. That is usually done when a boy is 8 days old. I mean, we got that Jack Daniels when we were teething because it worked. And, and when I was growing up, those things worked, I guess. They didn't really think about the after effects of what it could do to somebody or anything like that. Um, I never had an actual long time job until after I got sober. Um, I got my first job, uh, camp hosting, and I loved it. I loved it. I was where I wanted to be. I was in the woods. I was happy. And, you know, we were off grid for 9 years and I loved it. And that's all without drinking. Well, I drank for 6 months of the, no, I quit drinking in 2014, November. So I didn't start AA until I was about 4 months sober, 3 or 4 months sober, I think. But I didn't get my 24-hour coin until I was like 8 years sobriety. And because I didn't feel that I needed it. But as a sponsee, my sponsor taught me these, I can give them away. And so that's what I did for some of my sponsees, is I gave them their first books. And even family members that I think maybe that they needed a book, I've given them a book. My twin sister, I gave her first book. I think. I might be wrong, but I think I did. And, sobriety is a wonderful thing if you have the right tools and have the support and want it for yourself. You can't want it for someone else. That never works. It doesn't work for anything. You have to do it for you. You can't expect somebody else to do it for you. And that's what I stay by. But anyways, I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer, and I'm not going to be able to read the daily reflection because I'm live on Facebook on my phone. So get the daily reflection app, and you can have your daily reflections there. And the books, most of them have the books there that you can read, or even audio book there on the app and everything. So, and it's free. So, and I will be live again for another AA meeting on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to come and join, I never expect people to chat if they're uncomfortable chatting. That's fine with me. Just hit the subscribe and the like button. So yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna let y'all go. I love you guys, and remember, sobriety is the best, and you're not alone. You're not alone in this fight for sobriety. So God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Love you guys.